This is the Everyday AI Show, the everyday podcast where we simplify AI and bring its power to your fingertips. Listen daily for practical advice to boost your career, business, and everyday life.
The new Apple Vision Pro, is it a device that we all need? Or is it just an AI-powered tool that no one needs? We're going to talk about that today and more on Everyday AI. Welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Jordan, and I'm the host of Everyday AI, and this is for you. This is a daily live stream, podcast, and free daily newsletter helping everyday people like you and me not just learn what's going on in the world of generative AI, but how we can all actually understand it and use it to grow our companies and to grow our careers. So if you're new, thank you for joining us. If you're listening on the podcast, make sure to check out your show notes every single day. We always talk a lot of very useful information, as well as, our website URL, my email, a link to connect with me on LinkedIn, so many different things. So make sure to check that out. And if you're joining us on the live stream, thank you as always. So Denise joining us from Houston, and Brian and Jay, thank you all for tuning in to today's show. So before I get into a little bit more on the Apple Vision Pro, and spoiler alert, I think no one needs it, hardly no one. And we'll talk about that here in just a second and how this is actually an AI product, and maybe why Apple isn't talking about that. But before we get to that, we're going to start as we always do with the AI news. So if you are joining us, make sure, if you haven't, to go to youreverydayai.com. Sign up for the free daily newsletter. We recap every single day's episode, as well as everything important that's happening around the world as it comes to knowing AI and actually using it. All right. So I tell people also, our website, it is like a generative AI university for free. There's more than 200 episodes in there, sorted by category. You can go back and read every single newsletter we've ever put together. All right. But let's first get into the AI news for today, shall we? Microsoft is getting into the AI-generated news game. So Microsoft announced a collaboration with news organizations to bring generative AI into newsrooms and support journalists with research, sourcing, and translation. So this is part of Microsoft's commitment to sustainable journalism and democracy. So Microsoft is working with Semaphore to develop AI-based tools for news research and has created an AI journalism lab at CUNY's Craig Newmark Graduate School of Journalism. Other AI companies such as OpenAI are facing criticism over using news articles to train their models without licensing their content. If we're being honest, all large language models are doing that. And we're going to see, I've talked about this on the show before, how that pans out. I think we're going to see a lot of lawsuits and a lot of seven-figure annual partnerships. All right, next piece of news. Hey, we're talking about Apple and AI today, so a piece there. So Apple's future AI developments may come with a more affordable price tag. So Apple's AI research team just published a paper called Specialized Language Models with Cheap Inference from Limited Domain Data. Yeah, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue. So this new paper from Apple's AI research team shows that Apple's latest AI research breakthrough in developing cost-efficient language models is working. So the research outlines different cost arenas and methods for creating budget-conscious models that are effective for various domains. The research presents two pathways for creating budget-conscious models: hyper networks and mixtures of experts for generative pre-training budgets, and smaller selectively trained models for tighter budgets. So we're going to be talking a lot about Apple today, but a lot about Apple and AI in the near future. All reports, and Apple's own CEO said that they will be announcing their generative AI offering probably in June at the Worldwide Developer Conference. All right, our last piece of AI news for the day: Meta may start adding AI-generated labels to content shared on its platform. So this was kind of rumored a couple of months ago, but now it's kind of official. So starting in the next few months, Meta is working to add AI-generated labels to creative that comes from AI-generated tools such as Midjourney, ChatGPT. Google has their new Imagine 2, and others. So this approach, which again, it isn't live yet, but this approach is going to rely on a collaboration for invisible watermarking data, which we obviously haven't seen AI image generating platforms offer that yet. So it should be interesting to see how and when this ultimately plays out or doesn't. All right, that's it for today's AI news. And if you haven't already, make sure to go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter. And hey, let me know what you want to hear more of too. I love hearing from you all, getting emails, people reaching out on LinkedIn, letting me know that this is helpful for them or helpful for their career. So if that's you, please let me know. And who knows, maybe I'll look at how your company is using AI and bring you on as a case study. All right, but today, as Tara knows, and as Megan knows, and everyone that's joining us, we do a little thing each week called Hot Take Tuesday. So on Tuesday, I say, all right, I read way too much AI news. I pay probably way too much attention to everything, but that's for you to keep you all updated. And sometimes things just rub me the wrong way. And I got to get, old man Wilson, someone called me once. Got to get old man Wilson and shake my fist at the young kids, right, on my front lawn. So let me know, how hot should we make this one today? Let me know if you're joining us live. Throw some emojis. Should we be kind of nice to Apple? I mean, we like Apple. I'm an Apple fanboy. Or should I really bring the heat? Or should we just burn, baby, burn, right? I got some hot takes, as always. I'll let y'all decide. I feel most every time people just want just straight fire. No one wants me to be nice. All right. Maybe I'm too kind during the week with guests. All right. So looks like most people want to bring the heat. All right. Denise wants it kind of scorching. So Woozy said all the heat. All right. So let's go ahead. We'll crank up the temperature. So let's first talk what the Apple Vision Pro is. All right. So if you're listening on the podcast, I'm going to show a couple screenshots, but nothing that I can't explain. But if you haven't seen the Apple Vision Pro yet, here's what it is. It looks like very futuristic, cool looking ski goggles, right? There's no other way to put it. They look like cool ski goggles that you can see through, right? So the whole the whole premise of Apple Vision Pro is it brings in mixed reality, right? So you obviously, in these very futuristic, very expensive looking ski goggles, there's an extremely high definition screen, but you can also see through it. You can your vision passes through, and you can interact with the outside world. And obviously, whatever screen is being projected, it is in almost 3D. So, if there's depth in your room, you can have a screen and you can move the screen even forward and backwards. And, you can place different screens, kind of, pin them throughout your house and, wear the thing around. So you can interact, with different elements, whether it's, websites, watching videos, entertainment, productivity, email, messaging, whatever you think you can do on a computer. For the most part, you can do a lot of these things with the Apple Vision Pro. All right. That's the super, super high level. So what it is, it's a high-end mixed reality mixed reality device developed by Apple. So what it does is it offers an immersive mixed reality experience with features like high resolution display, spatial audio is another big one, and then hand gesture controls. And the price tag, y'all, the price tag starts at $3,500. Yeah, starts at, that's if no bells, no whistles, $3,500. All right, so like we talked about, I'm just bullet pointing some of the features, some of the specs here. All right. So it has a high resolution display, more so than any other product out there. The immersive spatial audio. It does have that seamless Apple ecosystem integration, as well as, which is kind of a big one here. It has the hands-free user interface with eye and hand tracking, 3D video, augmented reality apps, and it works in conjunction with your MacBook, right? So if you have a MacBook right there, you can just take that screen and throw it up and make it, 100 inches, in your mixed reality living room as an example, right? All right. And probably one of the best examples of this is a demo I saw on Twitter, actually. Someone said, hey, this demo is better than actual ads for Vision Pro. So to kind of describe what's happening here is this user on Twitter, they had different videos kind of pinned throughout their house, right? So there's a cooking video kind of pinned in your kitchen. So regardless of where you walk, that stays there, right? You can have different, apps or different screens follow you around if you're walking around in your house, because again, you can see through it. So you can have, kind of always there kind of windows that you see, or you can pin them and leave them around your house, around your office, right? So think maybe, who knows, you're in a conference room wearing this thing with others, and you can, pin different things up and walk around like they're big pieces of, those big notepads. All right. So that's it. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but this isn't a commercial for the Apple Vision Pro. All right. So now probably what you're asking is, hey, Jordan, isn't this an AI show? Yeah. Okay. Well, there's not a lot of AI in here, is there? Well, yeah, there's actually a ton. This thing could not run without artificial intelligence. And the bigger play here is what's not announced, right? Hey, full disclosure, I don't think this first version is going to meet expectations. Let me just get that out there. Let me also get this out there. I love Apple products, right? If you're joining me live and looking at the video here, the video's coming from my iPhone, right? It was better than the best webcam that I could have. I'm just stream here. I'm using my new Mac Mini, right? Later, I'll probably be working on my MacBook, right? So I got to put that out there. I'm a huge Apple fan. I've been using their products pretty exclusively for, 14, 15 years, a long time. So I'm going to get that out there. And then also talk about, yes, the Apple Vision Pro does use a lot of AI, all right? So some of its main AI features that you probably don't know are powered by artificial intelligence is the eyesight system that allows mixed reality. Yep, that's artificial intelligence. The user navigation for spatial content, that's artificial intelligence. And the neural engine accelerates AI functions without destroying the battery. All right. So there's a lot of artificial intelligence already baked in here. Is there a lot of generative AI? Not yet. But I do think that's their next play. I think that is, whether that's in their second version or their third version, that is the natural next play, right? I think right now, one of the downsides of this is having to use, typing on this thing is not easy. I've seen the demos. I got fat fingers. It's hard enough for me to type on a phone. All right. So there's a lot of pinch and zoom controls with your hand. There is a keyboard. Some people said it's terrible. Some people said it's okay. The voice dictation right now is not the best, according to reports. It's a little cumbersome, the UX of it. So I do see the next iteration of this. And when this could actually be useful, and I can say, hey, maybe someone needs this, is when there is a Siri integration that has a large language model, right? Current day Siri, Alexa, whatever Google uses, they're all useless, if I'm being honest, right? If you use a large language model and then you use a quote unquote, smart assistant, the smart assistants are not smart. So I do see this after Apple announces their, whether it's called Ajax or Apple GPT, whatever you want to call it. So maybe in their second or third version, I do see the Apple Vision Pro at that point being much more useful when it has built-in generative AI. Then it becomes a much more immersive device. All right. And hey, let me know if you're joining us. If you're joining us live, I think, some people said they're actually, they're considering, Woozy said he's considering one of these, but I want to know what your thoughts are on the Apple Vision Pro as we start to dive in now. We're going to get some spicy takes now. But first, let's admit the truth. The thing is $3,500. So it's selling, right? The numbers are there. Reports say that Apple pre-sold 200,000. I believe the figure I saw last is they've now sold nearly 300,000, right? And that alone is nearly $1 billion in sales, right? And they're expected to sell up to 600,000 units for the first year. All right, which that's, more than $2 billion. Not bad, right? It's not every day you can have a product that sells, two, three, $4 billion in sales in the first year, and you say, hey, this thing's not needed. This thing stinks. But that's my reality. So let's talk about why hardly no one needs it. All right. And as always, I'm going to mix in my own personal opinions with the facts, y'all. That's one thing we do here on Everyday AI. We research. That's my background. In my first life, I was an investigative journalist, journalist of all kinds, but did do a lot of investigative journalism. So a lot of times when people just put products out here in the Gen AI space, or, hey, look at my new AI, this thing. If we talk about it on the show, we usually dive in. We do research. We bring facts. We bring the receipts. All right. So let's talk here. This is Apple's first product for the tech elite. All right. And if you don't believe me, so what I'm sharing on my screen here, Google Trends has this nice little feature where you can see how often people are searching for things, where they're searching for things from, etc. All right. And guess where people care about the Apple Vision Pro? It's probably no surprise, but this isn't middle America. This isn't, your average everyday place. No, absolutely not. This is in tech elite USA, right? We're looking at Cupertino. We're looking at Redmond, where Microsoft is. We're looking at Mountain View. We're looking at Palo Alto. We're looking at tech hubs. That's it, right? So if I'm being honest, that's probably their target demographic. They don't want to sell this to me. They don't want to sell that. I'm living in Chicago. Well, they probably would want to sell this to me. I own just about, like I said, I own an iPhone. I own an Apple Watch. I own a couple Macs. I had an iPad. I don't use it anymore. So I'm probably their target consumer, but this isn't for me. This product is for the tech elite, period. Right. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but hey, we have the stats there. Look who's searching for this. Just tech elite cities, more so than any others. All right. Well, we're going to turn up the heat now. This product is tone deaf. It is so tone deaf. The average middle-class person cannot afford this. This is a used car. This is a trip to Fiji, right? Not that the average middle-class person cares. This is multiple, family vacations for your family if you're doing it road trip style, right? This is not for the everyday person. And that's actually what kind of rubs me the wrong way about this, right? And what you might be thinking is, all right, Jordan, well, it's a better product. And that's true, because I'd say the closest comparison right now is probably the Meta Quest 3, right? That was probably one of the best widely available kind of mixed reality headsets on the market. Quest 3, $500, right? Much more affordable for the everyday person. The Apple Vision Pro is 7 times more expensive. Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. They probably packed the technology to require that. I saw different teardown estimates saying that, the parts added up anywhere from, $1,200 to $1,400. I saw different ranges. So you obviously can't sell, something for a loss. But this is so tone deaf. All of Apple's products that are category makers have been for the masses before, right? Let's talk about that. Did Apple create the first laptop? No, but they created the first laptop for the masses. Did Apple create the first smartphone? No, but they created the first smartphone for the masses. Did Apple invent the first portable music player? No. They invented the first portable music player for the masses. Did Apple invent the first tablet? No. They invented the first tablet for the masses. All right. So you get what I'm saying. Apple has gotten to the point where it is today, which is usually either the first or the second most valuable company in the world for market cap, by making beautiful products that make people's lives better, that make the everyday person's life better, right? There's obviously downsides, right? There's downsides to these products. Everyone being glued to their smartphones, and I get it. I'm there too. I'm on a device almost all day, so I get it. Makes your life better, but there's downsides. But that is not what the Apple Vision Pro is. This is what, hey, there's other headsets out there. There's been other headsets out there for, I can't do the math, but probably almost 10 years. Going back to the bigger ones, the HTC Vives, those weren't, mixed realities, but there's been VR and mixed reality headsets out for a very long time now. Like I talked about, Meta Quest, we're already on version 3. This is not the first in this category, but Apple, as always, even like what they are with Gen AI, and I talk about this all the time, they're never the first person at the party, but they're always the coolest kid. But they missed on this. This is a swing and a miss. All right. And all other major market Apple products, I think, have solved problems. But the Apple Vision Pro is a pseudo solution looking for a problem. This isn't a solution. This isn't. This is so, rich bros out in California can be like, hey, look at this. Look at this. And they can, post on social media and they can say, oh, look at this, right? That's what this is for. This is a showcase piece. Is it here? I'll say this. Is it going to help people? Absolutely. Will there be use cases where this is extremely useful? Absolutely. Absolutely. Right? I could see use cases. But Apple, this is so, if I'm being honest, this is so anti-Apple. This move seems like something that I never would have expected Apple to come out with a device that is just literally not for 99.5% of their customer base. They make products for the masses. This is not it. All right. Some other problems that I think no one needs this. Well, I think Apple also dropped the ball. There's probably an over-reliance here on developers to create a compelling use case for this, right? Normally when Apple launches a new product, they have, a handful of apps that are built in, that they built, that they're like, this is the use case. This is all you need. Don't really have that. I don't see, you can throw your Safari up on the screen and, make it huge, right? Is that the compelling use case? Is it FaceTiming your coworkers who are also have a $3,000, $5,000 or $3,500 piece of machinery on their head and seeing their avatars? Is that a use case for everyone? I don't think so. All right. And then last but not least, again, going to the tone deafness of this, I believe, like post-pandemic, isolation is not what people are looking for, right? In theory, all of Apple's previous products, I think, have done a pretty good job at having use cases of bringing people together, right? Yes, there's tech neck and people are glued to their devices, and you see a room full of teenagers, there's 10 of them and somehow 11 of them are on their phones. How is that even possible? So I get it. I get that tech has become isolating, but I think that most of Apple's major products have not been isolating products. I believe this is quite literally isolating, right? Even in their ads, I'm like, does no one understand how isolating this is? There's ads where there's, 2 people in a room or 3 people in a room and one person has goggles on and everyone's laughing. I don't know. Doesn't sound like a super fun time for me. It's like, well, would I want to wear these on a flight? Sure. Yeah, that sounds great. When maybe I'm not, there to talk with other people, but probably not. Probably not. Usually travel with my wife. So do I want to be isolated the whole time from her? I don't know. Probably not. It's a pseudo solution looking for a problem.
Are you still running in circles trying to figure out how to actually grow your business with AI? Maybe your company has been tinkering with large language models for a year or more, but can't really get traction to find ROI on Gen AI. Hey, this is Jordan Wilson, host of this very podcast. Companies like Adobe, Microsoft, and NVIDIA have partnered with us because they trust our expertise in educating the masses around generative AI to get ahead. And some of the most innovative companies in the country hire us to help with their AI strategy and to train hundreds of their employees on how to use Gen AI. So whether you're looking for ChatGPT training for thousands or just need help building your front-end AI strategy, you can partner with us too, just like some of the biggest companies in the world do. Go to youreverydayai.com/partner to get in contact with our team, or you can just click on the partner section of our website. We'll help you stop running in those AI circles and help get your team ahead and build a straight path to ROI on Gen AI.
Yeah, some great comments here. From our audience. Woozy saying, agree, says, I feel like half the reason I want them is to show people they can use them to walk around in my company's metaverse world. Yeah, that's a great point. If you have a business use case like this, if you're trying to tie it into, more interactivity in your company, I get it. I still just don't see it. Svetlana saying this captures people's attentions, but doesn't solve a significant problem. Absolutely. Yeah. And there's been so many clips. There's been so many clips on the internet showing people wearing these in big cities, right? Showing people, in crowded crosswalks with their Apple Vision Pro on. People are just looking at them, right? And they're, moving their hands around and they're, gesturing as they walk, to who knows, maybe Twitter just had to be scrolled at that time, or, people on the bus. Yeah, there's some viral kind of photos and videos going around, or, the one I saw is there's, two guys at a restaurant eating these together. And it's just the two of them in their Apple Vision Pros, right? I don't know. To me, aside from the price, and that the average American cannot nearly afford this, right? That's number one. Not even close. The average American can't afford this. But yeah, it is isolating. I think I could be wrong, but I think most humans want now, and what we've wanted for the last year or so, I say in a post-pandemic world, obviously there's, still, pandemic is happening. It's just, I guess, a little quieter, but in what we call the post-pandemic world, people are wanting more human interaction. They're wanting to engage with others in real networking settings, right? Past couple networking events I've been to here in Chicago, people just talk like, oh, it's so good to be back meeting with people, and less time on, Zoom, Zoom networking events, or Zoom events, right? Like I'm going to be at the NVIDIA GTC in March, and it's the first one they've done in person, I think, in like 4 years, right? So I think what we humans want right now is we want interaction face-to-face with other humans, right? After being somewhat secluded for months or years, that's what we want. That's why I think this is tone deaf. Couple other smaller reasons here. Battery life blunder. Even with you are in a corded battery pack, which not all headsets have a corded battery pack. You still only have 2 hours, right? What are you going to do with 2 hours of battery? It's okay. At that point, you're tethered to an outlet. So like at what point is that advantageous to just having your MacBook or having your iPhone that has 10 times longer battery life? At what point is 2 hours, right? Come on. That makes no sense. It's heavy. It's super heavy. It looks kind of ridiculous, if I'm being honest, like people wearing these out and about. I think there was a reason why, even if you look back at Google Glass was very ahead of its time. There's probably a reason it didn't work. Obviously, people are going to buy whatever Apple puts out there, regardless of the price tag. But I don't think this is the move. Hey, and another reason, I think there's probably a reason that Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, kind of pivoted away from this metaverse and going all in on AR and VR and is focusing a little more on generative AI right now. I think there's a reason, right? Not abandoning, but focusing less attention on AR and the metaverse and more attention on generative AI. There's a reason. All right, let's end with stats, y'all. We always do. And also, if you have any questions, get them in. I'll try to answer one or two at the end if I see them across the screen. Let's just talk about this. And this is why I think that Apple did not lead with any AI in their marketing. They could have. There's artificial intelligence being used throughout this device, but they didn't lead with it, and I think they probably know. I think deep down they know that the first version of this is not going to be a category maker, right? I think people were talking about this a lot over the weekend, and they'll be talking about it a lot this week, but I think that's it. I think this is going to be one of those pieces you're not going to see, in the weeks, in the months after. Normally you can't get your hands on Apple products when they first come out. You got to wait weeks or months. It's not like that. You can walk into any store and buy these things. They're asking to be bought. So it's different. Obviously, the price is higher, so the availability looks different. But I want to talk about the economic impacts. So what I have on the screen here is this is just the last 6 months, right? So Apple announced this about it's actually about 7 months ago, but let's look at the last 6 months and let's look what's happened with all these big tech AI companies. So again, I'm not saying that this is just because of the Apple Vision Pro. Obviously, Apple has announced and released other products in this time period over the last 6 months. They just recently finally officially announced that they will be having a Gen AI offering coming to their iOS soon. Okay. So again, what I'm telling you right now, it's not saying that this is indicative of the market reception or consumer optimism on the Apple Vision Pro. It's not what I'm talking about. But over the last 6 months, here's big tech companies. Hear what their stock has done over 6 months. Apple up 4.9%. Google up 9.8%. All right, literally double. Microsoft up 22%. Meta up 45%. Nvidia up 52%. Right? Those are our big, AI tech players right there. So people are going to point to sales. They're going to point to say, oh, well, hey, when all things are said and done, it's going to be $2 billion, $3 billion. It's not moving the needle. It's not, because I think the majority of Americans see through this. They see through this, and I think the majority of people agree with me that this is an AI product that hardly no one needs. Unlike every single big product, big piece of hardware from Apple ever, this is not for most of us. This is not for the everyday person. This is not something that we need. It's something that people with a lot of money want. If I'm going to say it how it is, that's what it is. All right. I hope you enjoyed this. We took a little, not a detour, but we went in a slightly different direction today, talking about, we weren't talking about, Midjourney or ChatGPT or, Google Gemini. We thought we'd bring it back a little bit, zoom out and talk about what everyone else is talking about right now in the Apple Vision Pro. I hope this is helpful. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you know. If you're listening on the podcast, please let me know. Looks like we got a question here from Tara. Tara's asking, would you prefer your partner immersed in the Apple Vision Pro at half sensory input for a literal, transparent, filtered experience of the world, or engaging with the constant distraction of their smartphone? Oh, that's a good question. I pick the second, right? At least, I don't know, at least to me, when someone's on their smartphone, you can still make eye contact with them. You can still kind of see what they're doing I think when you are, as soon as you put on, an Apple Vision Pro or even, a Meta Quest 3, I think you're essentially checking out from those around you. I don't think anyone can truly put that on and be fully present, right? Because you could talk with someone, but you have ski goggles on that you can't even really see through. Apple says, oh, you can see people's eyes. Well, doesn't look like you really can. People kind of said like, oh, here's what they put out in the marketing and here's the reality. So I think it is an isolating device. All right. If this was helpful, let me know. And also tell your friends about this, share about this. If you're watching here on LinkedIn and you found this helpful, please repost this and go to youreverydayai.com, sign up for that free daily newsletter. I'm excited. We have a lot of great guests lined up for you the rest of the week. Yeah, so no more me. We have great guests lined up. So we hope to see you back tomorrow and every day for more Everyday AI. Thanks, y'all.
And that's a wrap for today's edition of Everyday AI. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a rating. It helps keep us going. For a little more AI magic, visit youreverydayai.com and sign up to our daily newsletter so you don't get left behind. Go break some barriers, and we'll see you next time.